In this video, I'll give you the best wide receiver to target in the early second round of 2024 fantasy drafts. I'm Jim Coventry of Rotowire. First, let's start out with Drake London. Some leagues in 12 teams, he'll go at the turn. Sometimes London will spill into the second round. All depends on your league and your breakdown. But first of all, let's start with Drake London. London has shown flashes of being a star in his first 2 years. Remember, London was a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. So that coming in, big-bodied receiver, very good usage of that body strength, can get yards after the catch, very effective both on the perimeter and middle of the field. His depth of target was 60th percentile last year with the Falcons, but only 19th percentile yards after the catch. But I think the big problem is, and we say this for some of these better receivers or bad quarterbacks, London was playing with Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke, and often the passes were not leading London into space. And again, when you're reaching back, you're reaching up, you're not getting those yards after the catch, and it's a real problem. Now, one of the problems for London was the targets he saw, 110 and 117 in the 2 years, and that is nowhere near what the top receivers in the game see. You have players like Michael Pittman averaging about 150 targets over the last 2 seasons. Well, you can't keep up with players like that if you're getting 112, 113 targets a season. Well, Arthur Smith, the coach, is gone, and that is the first thing that helps here. Arthur Smith would often abandon the passing game, and again, they were bad quarterbacks. So Zach Robinson will be the new offensive coordinator, and Robinson comes from the Sean McVay tree of the Rams. And what we will see is we probably see much more creative usage of London. We may see London in more tight sets. We might see him used to break off from blocker to receiver. We should see him manipulated into space. There are times he will run downfield routes from his position, but the optimization of Drake London should be close to a guarantee. But another major factor working for London is you go from Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke to Kirk Cousins. And I know some people are a little concerned. Cousins is 36. In some ways, not from a fantasy standpoint, in some ways he's been a declining quarterback in terms of the NFL measurables, but Cousins gets fantasy production. And the Achilles injury to me is not a problem. Achilles injury sap explosiveness. Seriously, has Kirk Cousins been explosive or a runner in the last 5 years? The answer is an obvious no. He's a pocket passer. So Cousins told Adam Schefter during the NFL draft, it was live televised, not the draft, it was during the NFL schedule release, I should say, that he was ready for week 1 unless something crazy happened. So we know he's ready to play. And so now let's go back to Drake London. Drake London should go for those 110 to 117 targets. We should see him get a minimum of 140 targets in this offense. We don't expect the Falcons defense to be great. Therefore, they should need to score points and to move the ball through the air. And we know this version of the offense being brought in Ram style, they're going to pass. Well, when London saw 8 or more targets in each of his 2 years in the league, his numbers were almost identical. Each his first and second year when he had that many targets, 6.5 catches per game. As a rookie, those 8+ targets equaled 86 yards per game. Last year, they equaled 90. So we know when London is targeted, London is a very productive player. Worst case scenario, the floor should be 1,150 yards. But realistically, in what should be a well-designed offense with a pro quarterback and a first-round NFL draft pick who has shown the ability to dominate when used well, you could get 1,400 yards out of Drake London. And to me, that makes him a great choice in the early second round of drafts. The next player is Marvin Harrison Jr. of the Arizona Cardinals. The first thing I want to rebuff is this. I have a lot of fantasy players who say, he has never played an NFL snap. I will not trust a player. I get it. It makes sense. However, NFL is weird. In the last 4 years, we have had a rookie receiver post 1,400 or more yards. They've all been in the 1,400 to 1,500 range, actually. Think about that. Those numbers are elite. They're not Tyreek Hill numbers. They're not what CeeDee Lamb did last year. But after that, 1,400 yards is the next level of standard. So to say that Marvin Harrison cannot come in and do the same, Justin Jefferson was playing with Kirk Cousins, so yes. And we know that Jamar Chase, who had 1,455 yards, Jefferson had exactly 1,400. Jamar Chase is playing with Joe Burrow. That helps. And Puka Nacua had Sean McVay and had the most yards of the three. But Marvin Harrison doesn't walk into a bad situation here. Kyler Murray's his quarterback. Kyler Murray can throw to the perimeter. If that's where he can throw all over. When we've seen a healthy DeAndre Hopkins or a healthy Marquise Brown playing with Kyler Murray, they put up wide receiver 1 numbers. So we know Murray can support that. Harrison, again, played in college, but the understanding is he can line up all over the formation. They can use him in the slot. They can use him outside. So if defenses actively try to take him away, there's answers for that. And again, and I say in every show I do, the league plays 73% zone right now. And so teams are not playing heavy man. And within zones, there are zone beaters. And coaches know how to utilize this. And the star receivers that are versatile, they're able to crack this code. And the Cardinals, they project to have a bad defense again. So Harrison should be in a situation where Kyler Murray has to throw the football. Harrison's size is perfect for an alpha receiver. Great route running. I mean, he totally treated his college career like a job. And it sounds stupid, but it's true. He was refining his game. The body control is out of this world. Good enough deep speed, fantastic hands. Wasn't a great yards after the catch guy in college, but remember, in the NFL, you can scheme routes into space, and that could lead to yards after the catch that may not be there. I mean, think of Puka Nacua last year. When you have play designers, and I'm not saying Harrison does not have the luxury of a Sean McVay, but this can be done. And so you would have to assume it would be stunning if Harrison didn't walk into 130 targets. And again, knowing that we've seen rookie receivers dominate in 3 of the last 4 years, just to put Harrison out of that mix because you're saying he's a rookie and I've never seen him on the field, the last 4 years have proven that wrong. Hey, if you enjoy videos like this, please consider hitting the like button and subscribe to the Rotowire Fantasy Football channel on YouTube. Also, you can check out all of our fantasy football content and rankings. You can get a free 2-day trial without a credit card. You just head over to rotowire.com/Jim and you can check out all of our content. All right, the last receiver, and I'm calling this an ADP battle. These are the article series that I do over on Rotowire that you can check out with your free trials. And Chris Olave. And Olave is interesting because in the first 2 years in the league, we haven't seen a dominant season. We haven't seen him hit 1,150 yards. But I want to point out some important things. The first thing is, yes, he has Derek Carr. And is that optimal? Not necessarily. But let's go under the hood a little bit here. Derek Carr was not fully healthy last year. He had head and neck injuries on multiple occasions. And yes, the protection was bad. And Carr, we know, hypersensitive to pressure, and it implodes for Carr when he's under pressure. So let's think this through. First of all, I want you to know that Derek Carr, just a couple of years ago, 2022, did work with Devontae Adams, and Adams had a 1,500-yard season. So Derek Carr can support a superstar quarterback. But what will be different for Carr this year? Now, right tackle Ryan Ramchek's out for the season. That's not good. They drafted Talise Fuaga, an offensive lineman, probably projects better to be a guard than a tackle. I'm not sure what they're going to do with him, but they did work on the line. But the line's not going to be good. All right, let's just get that out of the way. The line's not going to be good. They bring in Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator. Now, Clint Kubiak's dad was Gary Kubiak. The offensive system goes back a long way. And here's what's going to happen. Heavy use of play action and heavy personnel sets, meaning extra tight end on the field. So the extra tight end, a little more blocking. The play action keeps the quarterback clean a little bit longer. This system has worked with marginal quarterbacks, worked with good quarterbacks. It gives them time to get the ball out. But here's the other thing. Chris Olave was used on an inordinate number of what we call go routes, straight downfield routes. And behind a bad line without a protection scheme, that wasn't working. Now, Olave was versatile. 44% of his targets came in the slot, so they can move him around. We talk about this with players. This is going to be a factor I'll build in a minute. But when we talk about Clint Kubiak coming in, instead of those go routes, the offense predicates itself around an alpha receiver. And Olave is that. We love Rashid Shaheed. Very nice player. But Chris Olave obviously is a star. And Chris Olave is going to be used on a lot different routes than he was used last year, those go routes. We're going to see him on quick hits, with slants, overs. We're going to see him on a lot of routes with that play action. He's going to be the primary focal point of the passing attack. He will get targets here. Now, last year, Olave did average 100 yards in his first 3 games, so we saw that production with Carr. And then week 3 through the week 10 bye, he had a couple of games in the 90s, but he didn't have another 100-yard game. And then after week 10, he did come out 114 yards in 3 or 4 games. And then the last 2 weeks, he like disappeared randomly, like 9 targets between week 17 and 18 total. So it was a weird year. But whenever Olave had 9 or more targets, there was only one game he didn't hit 86 yards. So we know the production will be there. I do believe in Clint Kubiak. He's not going to make this offense great, but the one player who stands to benefit in this system is Chris Olave. And we've seen, as I said, Carr do it before. So I am totally on board with Carr getting Olave to the numbers we'd like. Final verdict, break these 3 players. I do have Drake London number 1. The offensive system's coming in. There's an offensive line. There's a professional quarterback. And London is a true top 10 NFL pick. So I do believe Drake London has the best opportunity to be the best of this group. I do have Olave ahead of Harrison. I think Harrison may be a better talent, but I do believe in Clint Kubiak's system. And I do believe that Olave has shown superstar potential. And I do, as we've seen, Carr can support a high-level receiver if the situation's right. I am putting Harrison third, not by a lot, but by enough. And I do think Kyler Murray has had some durability issues. Now, the last 2 years, he missed time because of the same injury, the ACL, but I think there's a little more tenuous stuff there. And I think that if, Murray's the most likely, the one, if he goes down, it's going to be a real problem. All that said, Harrison's close, but I'm going to go with London and Olave first, but Harrison the comfortable third.